What is good, everybody? Welcome to a joint collaboration podcast. I'm Rob Stats Guerrera. He's Grant Cohn. This is a simulcast going out to my YouTube channel, his YouTube channel. New show going to come at you every Wednesday, noon Pacific time. What's up, Grant?
This is exciting. How are you, Rob?
Yeah. Let's go. I know you're doing well because you just advanced in the gold standard 49ers Media Madness bracket. Congratulations.
When you first made it, I was like, oh, man, look at this popularity contest. This is awful. Was terrible with journalism. Then I won the first round. I was like, yes, everyone check out this. Vote for. It's a great thing, though. What's nice about it is it's getting a lot of people exposure, man. Like Jason Aponte in the Sweet 16, Vish in the Sweet 16, Eric Crocker. Not that he needs more exposure. He's a monster, but he's also in there. And it's like, so is Cam. So are the Mats. Like, this is serious stuff. We're getting into heady stuff.
Yeah. You can't mention Jason Aponte to me since he just eliminated me, but you can go vote. The description, the link is in the description to the show, so click on
No shame in that, losing to Jason Aponte. No.
Do you know you won by 83 votes over Larry last round?
Woo! I retweeted something like at the last minute, so I think maybe a few people on Twitter helped me out. Thank you.
Go.
Well, Larry's tough competition, man. He called Brock Purdy. He's a legend for that.
He was basically the only one because I was not hearing good things about Brock Purdy. But
no,
we're going to talk a little Brock. We're going to talk a little Niners quarterback situation, Kyle Shanahan on today's show. And also, what the hell is going on with Brandon Aiyuk? Do you want to start with Kyle or do you want to start with Aiyuk?
Let's start with Aiyuk. I think we should start with Aiyuk because that's like the newsy thing. He tweeted it yesterday. And what did he say and what do you think it meant?
The weird thing about the Aiyuk tweet is it's like every offseason, we got to have wide receiver drama with the 49ers. And the tweet was, let's see if I can pull it up really quick. I can get a picture of it later.
He essentially said he's the fourth option in a run-first offense.
Yes.
And, he's like ready to do business again this year, loading year 4. Something like that.
Yeah, the exact quote is 1K is the fourth option in a run-first offense. I'm as real as it gets. Wirt's a little baby, and SG, I'm ready to stand on business every time, year 4, with the rocket emojis. So there you go.
Right. So
what does that mean to you?
What does that mean to me? I mean, he sees himself as much more than the fourth option in a run-first offense. Clearly, he feels he's not being fully utilized. But what's interesting to me is I looked it up. He's not the fourth option in this offense. He's the second option. Last year in targets per game, it was Debo, Aiyuk, Kittle, McCaffrey. So that's the first thing right there. Like, he clearly feels like he should be the number one option, and not being the number one option makes it feel like the fourth option. I think he should be the number one option too, but it just feels like he's frustrated with his role, with the team. It doesn't sound like a guy who's going to be here super long term or even maybe past next year. What do you think?
I think clearly it's about his usage in the offense. When you start the tweet with 1K as the fourth option in a run-first offense, you're talking about your role there. You can't really deny that. And the other thing is, it's not like Brandon Aiyuk tweets all the time. Do you know how many times he's tweeted since 2021, Grant?
Like 4 times.
4. That's right. 4 times since 2021.
Yes.
So something happened. And I'm not saying like he hates the team or he wants to trade or anything like that, but something took place to where he felt compelled to share his feelings with the world. And I think that's significant.
I agree. I mean, there are a lot of players in this team who talk a lot, George Kittle, Fred Warner. Brandon Aiyuk is not one of them. He rarely talks, and I guess he feels like he's a bit of an outsider. He doesn't, I don't want to speak for him, but he doesn't go to Cabo. He doesn't get the targets he wants. He's in and out of the doghouse. He's not really one of them. And I think he doesn't talk about it, but at the same time, maybe it bothers him. It would bother me.
If anybody has a gripe with the 49ers that you could consider legitimate, Aiyuk's got as good an argument as anybody. He comes in as a rookie in 2020 during COVID and has a fantastic rookie year, insane rookie year. And 2021, Kyle freezes him out for half a year for
no reason.
Yet to be explained because he didn't practice hard enough or whatever BS excuse Shanahan was running. And as soon as he starts incorporating him back into the offense, he's fantastic again. And last year, he never came off the field. He was awesome again. So I understand if he's a little frustrated with how he's been treated by the 49ers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think He's looking around. I mean, you just traded for Christian McCaffrey. You got so much money tied up in different weapons. Like, where's the money for me? It may not be. I mean, the targets aren't there for me. And maybe he's thinking, you know what? I don't know if he even wants to be here long term. I mean, let's not forget he liked that tweet, that picture. Excuse me, it wasn't a tweet. I'm a boomer. He liked an Instagram picture of him wearing a Giants jersey. The Giants want to trade for him. That's been reported. So maybe the idea of him leaving a run-first offense and going somewhere where he could be the first option is appealing to him. I mean, it's not like the Giants suck or anything. That's a playoff team too.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'm not all in on the Giants yet, but I can understand.
I'm with you on that. Yeah.
Well, he did lead the team in catches and targets last year, but I think that was more a point of George Kittle was banged up, Debo was banged up. He was always there. Aiyuk was always there for this team.
And that's why the Niners need to trade him, because if a guy is an Iron Man and doesn't miss a game in 2 years, get the hell off the team. Buckner was like that. Buckner didn't miss time. And they're like, get out of here. Who do you think you are playing all the time?
Shout out to Rod watching on YouTube. Two of my favorite, Grant and Stats. Each guy in your own words. What is Trey's biggest development issue and what is a healthy Brock's? Man, didn't take long to get to the quarterback questions, did it?
We can go straight to quarterback. Easy. I mean, for both of them, Kyle gets them hurt before they can develop, straight up. Or they get hurt. Like I feel like for Trey, he's gotten injured at least twice playing running back when they're trying to develop him as a quarterback. And I thought the whole point of sitting him for a year was to develop him the right way, to be a quarterback, not a dual threat. But ever since he got hurt, Kyle's like, dual threat. It's like, hey, man, chill on that. Can we? And if that's the case, when he plays this year, because it looks like he's probably going to start week 1, can he actually play quarterback before you ship him off to Minnesota or whatever you're going to do with him? Quarterback. That's my issue. He hasn't been able to play it.
We got to stop with this idea that Kyle got quarterbacks hurt. Like, you're the mayor of Crazy Town with this, Grant. We have to stop acting like everything is within Kyle Shanahan's control. It's not. And I get that we want to blame somebody. I get that. But damn, man, like sometimes stuff just happens. Guys just get hurt.
True.
Where did Jimmy Garoppolo
Then
get
Kyle
hurt?
must be the most unlucky coach ever, man, because all of his quarterbacks get hurt. All of them. RG3.
Jimmy got hurt in the pocket. Brock Purdy got hurt in the pocket.
Dude, Jimmy got hurt like 7 times, man.
Well,
Jimmy got hurt. Jimmy got hurt a lot of times. All of his quarterbacks get hurt. At a certain point, Kyle Shanahan is going to have to emphasize quarterback protection in multiple ways a little bit more by like maybe not asking his, 4th string tight end to block a premier edge rusher on a slow developing play action play. Maybe don't do that. Or there's so many things you could do, but I think Kyle's attitude is, man, it's just the price of doing business. I want to have this play action offense. It's okay. I'll have small offensive linemen. Him and his dad have had small offensive linemen since 1995. It's just what they want to do. So if they don't have John Elway or Steve Young, I mean, they kind of go through their quarterbacks.
That's kind of what they hope that they were drafting, I think, with Trey a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's get to the Gold Rush 561. Just a guess, I bet agent and front office, going back to Aiyuk, are in preliminary talks for extension, and front office gave a lowball number, as they always do. That was my first thought, was that there was communication, and maybe he didn't like the first offer.
I think the way the Niners do business is they don't even present an offer until late in the process. I think that was the issue with Debo last year. Not that they necessarily lowballed him, but that there was no offer in March. And he was like, what the hell is going on? And he had to talk to Trent and all these people like, this is what they do, man. They'll present it later, and you got to be patient. So Aiyuk's under contract for 2 more years. I doubt they've put anything in front of him, and maybe that's enough to piss him off.
Right. Well, maybe the agent said, hey, let's talk now that we can actually talk according to the CBA. And the Niners were like, no, that's not what we do. Right.
It's like we're going through a tunnel.
Yeah.
Huh? Nah. Yeah.
And then I would get it. Like, Aiyuk's like, hell, I've been through hell and back with this team. I'm always there. Like, you don't want to at least talk about it. I could see that getting him mad too.
I could definitely see that getting him mad. I can't pronounce that sentence or talk English today. Having a tough time. Let's move on. I feel like I don't want to speak too much for Brandon Aiyuk because he could tweet something else and be like, man, I was just tweeting lyrics. It's like, okay, fair. Whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to Shanahan then, since
let's get to Shanahan.
That was the other thing. Because I was listening to you and your dad, and first of all, your dad, like, wanting to fire Kyle Shanahan after last year. He was the coach of the year. Why would you fire him?
I mean, no, he wasn't.
He should have been. He
Well,
absolutely should have been.
Well, okay. That's a different thing. Say should have been than he was. But the thing with Kyle Shanahan, I feel like the thing with this team is he just feels like fool's gold. He's always going to be in the mix at the end of the season because he builds through his running game and his defense, and it's really good. But man, until he has a quarterback a good quarterback that he can keep healthy and a good offensive line that allows him to do that, man, it just feels like he's always going to be a pretender. He's always going to be fool's gold. He's always going to be in it. But like, you can't win a Super Bowl with defense and a run game in 2023. You have to be like actually committed to offense and passing, which means you have to be committed to your offensive line and your quarterback. And like, those are the two positions where he wants to save money the most. It just seems like he's stuck in 98. Like, he's literally stuck in 98, in my opinion. That's the way I see it. So, I mean, yeah, I think he'll be in the NFC Championship game this year for sure. I think he'll win 13 games, and he'll, maybe win the NFC, the Coach of the Year. But is he going to win the Super Bowl? I mean, not till he gets a legit quarterback who can stay healthy. But is that Brock? He got hurt already. Is it Trey? He got hurt a million times. I don't know. Is the guy on the roster? I don't know. I don't.
But getting to the NFC Championship game, even if you don't win it, that's not nothing. That's not
it's great.
Failure.
It's great.
I just think that, I don't think I'll look at that and be like, oh, well, Kyle's content to settle for second best or anything like that.
Nah. It's not that he's content. It's just that he's incapable of getting over the hump. So far, he's had some chances. Though I liken it to Tony Dungy in Tampa. Like, hey, it's a Hall of Fame coach, but he had a bunch of cracks at winning the Super Bowl with that Tampa team that was great, and he couldn't do it. They got rid of him, brought in John Gruden, who I'm not saying is even a better coach than Tony Dungy, but he won with that team for whatever reason. Then Dungy goes to Indianapolis, inherits a Hall of Fame quarterback, and wins. I think that's what Kyle needs to do. I think he needs to leave and go somewhere where there's a quarterback in place, because that's how it worked for him in Atlanta, and that's how it worked for his dad in San Francisco and Denver. Anytime those two had to pick their own quarterback, I mean, I put the list on Twitter. Yes, it's like 25 guys. It's a joke of a list. I'm just saying. The best guy on it is Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, that's not ideal.
So that's a little bit of a gap for an offensive genius. Like, can't really scout the quarterback position or develop it or keep it healthy. Like, yikes, man. Well, then what does that make you? Pretender. Sorry.
I mean, it makes you a damn good coach.
Good coach.
I think would agree. Like, every team has strengths and weaknesses in terms of what they can evaluate and what they can't. I think that he's very good at evaluating running backs and other positions.
Wide receivers.
Not as good.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's fair.
Traded up for CJ Beathard, Rob. That's all you got to know. That's it. Not that I'm better. I'm not saying I'm better. My track record is awful. Just look at my tweets. But I don't get paid to do this. I get paid to talk with you.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait.
There it is.
You get paid.
It's mirrored.
Yeah. I think that Kyle is a damn good coach. I think he's like, if you're getting rid of him, who are you replacing him with? Who's going to be your
It's a little
John
late in
Gruden?
the process. It's a little late in the process in late March. But that's a fair question. That's a fair question. I would have went with Steichen. Not that I know that much about Steichen, but I do like what the Eagles are doing, and I like the way. What I like about Steichen, not the scheme. He's a former quarterback coach who's worked with Jalen Hurts and Justin Herbert. Like, I want a guy who's shown results with young quarterbacks. And maybe it's just that those guys are baller young quarterbacks and he did nothing with them. But I think I'd at least interview him. Like, what did you do with those young quarterbacks? Because over here, we just get them injured. I don't know what we're doing, but we're just getting them hurt.
They get hurt. Official BNA Music 88, Kyle tricked y'all. He's a defensive guru.
I'm telling you, he's Tony Dungy. He's a great coach. A genius of defense.
We would have said the same thing about Andy Reid until Andy Reid won Super Bowls.
But the difference between them is that Andy Reid showed right off the bat that he knew what he was doing with the quarterback position. That was one thing he always had on. He never went through a period where he was like, man, he's just going through 4 quarterbacks in a season. He always had someone, and he kept them healthy. How many games does Andy Reid's starters miss due to injury? Is that luck? I don't think so. Make your own luck, Kyle.
I think I think you have to, if you're the 49ers, consider everything when it comes to injuries. I think it's probably partly because of what they do or don't do, practicing too hard, practicing too often, whatever the case may be. Also, constantly relying on guys that get hurt. Jimmy Garoppolo was the quarterback for how many years? Guess what Jimmy Garoppolo does? He gets hurt every year. D Ford gets hurt every year. When you rely on those guys again and again, and they continue to get hurt, then you're like, damn, we've had really bad injury luck. Well,
what happened?
Of course you
I'm
have.
so surprised. Yeah,
Right.
it's true. It's true.
But-
Look, I never said fire Kyle. I said trade Kyle, all right? Because I feel like just like what Al Davis did, sending John Gruden to the Bucks, which was the best thing that ever happened to the Bucks. What do you get, 2 1s and 2 2s? What is Kyle Shanahan worth in a trade? If John Gruden was worth 2 1s and 2 2s, and Kyle's got to be worth like 3 1s. I'll take it.
Oh, yeah, Kyle's worth. That's the
I would
thing.
think- I'll
Doesn't that
take
tell
it.
you something? If he was on the open market right now, he would have teams falling all over themselves to sign.
That's true. Yeah, man, because he makes you instantly relevant. You have this, first of all, you'll be talked about a lot. He's a media darling. You'll be in the playoffs. You're the Cowboys. Yay! You're the freaking cow. Or maybe a little bit better. But are you going to win the Super Bowl? That remains to be seen. He's had He's had a bunch of cracks at it recently. But he still, was he 44? He's got time.
Around there, yeah. He's got
Because he shows a lot of growth and change. That's the one thing I'll give Kyle. He grows and he changes a lot. I like that.
He does?
He's humble. He grows. He shows a lot of it. Yeah, I love that.
It's funny. We just had Kay Adams on and we were talking to him about Kyle and we were like, what do you think of Kyle? And she was like, do I like interviewing him? Does he think he's the greatest gift to coaching? Yeah, he kind of does, but he's a good coach. Like, you definitely get that impression from Kyle, and we'll see it again. He's going to speak Sunday at the owners' meetings. He don't like the media. He don't like talking to us. He doesn't like answering questions from us. He doesn't like being held accountable by anybody for any reason, and he gets very prickly if you try to hold him accountable.
That's okay. I mean, a lot of coaches are like that. But what I like about Kyle is he'll get prickly, but he'll answer the question anyway. Mm-hmm. Like, he sometimes can't help himself. It's almost like Will Ferrell in like Austin Powers 2. Like, if you ask the question 3 times, Kyle answer it. He just has to. It's like, oh, you asked it 3rd time. I hate when people do that. Okay, here's the answer. And he, like, as opposed to Jim Harbaugh, like, I'm not answering your question, and like stare at you. Kyle he knows the answer, and he wants people to know that he knows the answer. So he'll tell it eventually. As long as you don't phrase it in a way that he messed up. If it's not like, hey Kyle, you blew it. Why'd you do that? Mm-hmm. If it's like, hey, I want to learn about football. Will you educate me? He's like, let me give you 3 paragraphs on that. It's like, thanks, Kyle. I like Kyle. Again, what I said, here's my prediction. Never going to win a Super Bowl with the 49ers. My prediction. But if he gets fired and gets a head coaching job somewhere else where he inherits a legit quarterback, he might be able to do it.
Mark,
like his dad did
on YouTube. Grant wants to wants to fire every Niners coach. Every Niners quarterback is not good enough. He doesn't now know who to replace them with.
I had a guy. Can I just say though, when Chip Kelly was here, I was one of the only guys that said locally that said, fire this guy after 1 year. A lot of people were like, he hasn't gotten a fair chance and yada yada. Fine. That was all true. But if it wasn't for me, Kyle wouldn't even be here.
Oh, man. Oh, the revisionist history.
That happened almost. Chip Kelly, I have to root for him now. He coaches my team. That sucks.
Are you going
UCLA.
to the owners' meetings on Sunday?
Yes. Although I can't get there Sunday morning because it's my nephew's bar mitzvah thing. So I'm getting there Sunday night. I'll be there for Monday morning. But is anyone are you going to go? No.
Am I going to go? I don't have a job. How am I going to go?
Yeah. I've never been. I don't know how it works. Can you just waltze in? No, I have a credential.
It's awesome. I have been to the owners' meetings before when I was with PFT, and all the owners are there, all the coaches are there, the GMs are there, and it's much more casual because there's not nearly as many media that go to that as like the combine or the draft or anything. And they're just kind of like, you're at this swanky hotel because the owners ain't staying at a Holiday Inn, and everybody's kind of there, and you can just walk up to anybody and talk to them.
I'm terrified. So Kyle's going to be there at the bar, and I'm going to be like, hey, man, you want to get a drink? And he's like, no. And that'll be fun. Maybe I'll have a drink with Kyle Shanahan. He'll be like, so why are you such a jerk to me? I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, give me one example. I think you're great. Hell of a coach.
Can you ask Kyle who the starting quarterback is? Just who's
I asked him at the end of season press conference, and he was like, honestly, I haven't even thought of it. So now I'll be like, hey, Kyle, it's been a couple months since I asked you who the starting quarterback is. Have you gotten around to thinking about who it might be? And I think there's some fair follow-ups. Like, well, what if Brock's not ready? What's he going to say, though? I'm just taking it one day at a time. Is he going to say some stuff like that?
So here's the thing. It's hard because, like, you get your one question, right? Really, everybody needs to team up and ask the follow-ups together. Like,
it's true.
I'll show you. Like, you be Kyle Shanahan, and I'll be people at the press conference. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Kyle, who's your starting quarterback next year?
It's a little too early for me to say that. I only got one healthy starting quarterback. I'm just focused on OTAs.
Is it Brock's job when he comes back?
See, that's a good follow-up question. Is it Brock's job when he comes back? Did Trey lose this job when he was injured? Did Brock show enough to have for it to be his job whenever he comes back? Or is there a competition?
Right.
Have you thought of any of these things?
Hey, Kyle, can Sam Darnold beat out Trey Lance and win that job week 1?
I don't even know if we're going to be alive next week. Yeah.
Assuming we are, Kyle. Like, I want to know that because I think Darnold has a complete shot.
But again, Kyle's whole thing is he doesn't want to sit there and look like he's deflecting. He wants to look like he's being as transparent as possible. So he'll have something planned. But I'm just curious, like, what is it? Because it seems like he doesn't want to alienate any of his quarterbacks. He doesn't want to come out and say Brock's the quarterback because that alienates Trey and his agent. And he doesn't want to say that Trey's the quarterback because that may not even be the case. So I really want to see how he kind of rides the fence here and tiptoes around this sensitive subject.
Obi-Wan49, thank you very much. Nice to see both of you together. Keep up the QC. But I don't really care what Kyle wants to say, right? Like, because you got to, not you specifically, he's got to be pinned down, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't thought about it. Why not? Do you think you should have thought about it? Has anybody from the team reached out to you and asked what the hell is going on with the quarterback situation? What does Trey have to do when he's in there to keep the job even after Brock is healthy? Like, there are so many questions.
Yeah.
And Kyle needs to start answering them. I hate the fact that he's like always on the fence about this stuff.
Well, I'd like to give the benefit of the doubt to the Niners beat writers. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'd like to think that what else is there to talk about? What else is there to ask about, Rob? What are you going to go and be like, so what do you think of Javon Hargrave? Like, we already did that with John Lynch. What is there to ask about? I hope someone doesn't pop in and like ruin the flow of the questions, because it really should just be 15 quarterback questions. Honestly.
Yes, it should. Like,
this is all it should be.
But you know what it's going to be? It's going to be, tell us about Javon Hargrave. How does he fit into your defense? Maybe some draft questions, maybe, but like, who cares ultimately?
Right, because a lot of people are just going to be straight up afraid to ask the question because he might not like it.
Also,
so our job is to ask him a question he likes. Like, really?
No, it's
Serious?
not. It's not. The complete opposite, as a matter of fact.
Exactly.
Hey, Kyle, when did you call Ben Roethlisberger and see when he wanted to come out of retirement? How about that little nugget we got from Big Ben yesterday, saying the Niners approached him last year to come out of retirement? When was that? Was that when Jimmy G went down, or was that before they signed Josh Johnson? I would love to know the answer to that question.
Good question. Was there a rumor that the same was that they called up Phillip Rivers, or vice versa, or was that shot down?
Vice versa. It was Phillip Rivers, I think, that contacted them, although Rivers has denied that, but that rumor was out there.
Well, it would be very embarrassing to call up a team and have, like, that's kind of like what Brady did, right? That's the two Hall of Fame quarterbacks Kyle's been like, and apparently they called Big Ben.
Yes, that's according to Ben. They called him.
And he was like, thanks, but no thanks.
He said he thought about it. He wanted to prove to people, that he could still play, but ultimately, he wanted to only wear the Steelers colors and blah, 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 all that fluff. Maybe they just didn't want to pay him.
Ultimately, the Niners only offered him $1 million. Yada, yada. That's very interesting. That's a hell of a question too. Yeah. I mean, I think all the questions need to be about quarterbacks. So what we should do is get like a whole list together and get like the 15 best from the fans.
I do that every time there's a press conference. I tweet out a list of questions I want to ask.
You do?
Are you not reading my tweets all the time? I should be on alert.
You should be on alert. I don't know. Next time, I got you.
I have so many. I love interviewing people, first of all. And there's so many questions. The Brock question, the Darnold question. He's got to answer some of this, because all this Trey stuff, like, if Trey had played last year and been maybe not what Brock was, but just like, showed promise, that kind of thing, nobody would be saying Kyle Shanahan mishandled the quarterbacks. Nobody would be saying he doesn't know how to scout quarterbacks. It's just that we haven't gotten to see him.
When you ask Kyle a question he doesn't like, he answers in a way that makes he makes it seem like he thinks you don't know what the hell, like you're an idiot. Yep. He responds like you're a freaking idiot, that you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know football. And dude, these guys have to be there every day, every season. So most of them just don't want that smoke. They know what he doesn't want to be asked. They know how he's going to make them look stupid on camera. And they don't go there. I mean, Jason Cole was like, hey, man, I mean, how can you 3 injuries, 3 quarterbacks? I mean, it just got eviscerated by Kyle Shanahan at the end of that, right? And well, we could just hand off every time then. Like, I don't think Matt Mayoko wants an answer like that. I don't think Nick Wagner wants an answer like that. You know, that's why those questions don't get asked.
But that didn't make Jason look bad. It made Kyle look bad. It made Kyle look like an arrogant jerk for answering it that way.
That's how I look at it. But I'm not sure that every beat writer looks at it that way. I think some fans, you know, that on Twitter, the response was, "Oh, Kyle dunked on him. What a stupid question." Da, 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 da. Like journalists like us are like, "Hey, you know what? That took credit. That was a good question. It took courage. Good for that guy." But fans are like, "Hey, screw that guy. Go Kyle." That's the way I look at it. I don't know.
Yeah, but you know what? Like, they represent a small portion of the fan base as a whole. Don't let the loudest section of any group influence your
Well, that's what we're learning from your March Madness bracket. You know, not necessarily the people with the most Twitter followers are winning these matchups. Very interesting.
Yes. Again, go vote. Link in the description.
Vote. Yep.
So Kyle's going to talk on Sunday. I think John Lynch hopefully will talk. Maybe Jed will talk. Are you going to try and track down Jed?
I would like to, because me and Jed are super good friends. No, the thing is, if I see John, he'll be hella nice. He'll use my name. He'll shake my hand. He might even have a beer with me. Really eager to see if I can pull that off with Kyle or Jed. So we'll see. Now, I'm missing the first day, unfortunately. It's a bar mitzvah event. Right. Can't miss that. But I'll be there the rest of the time. So we'll see what happens.
What would you ask Jed?
Yeah. And John, too. Like, at the end of the season, you guys said, or John said, you wanted to make changes. You needed to look into making changes to win a Super Bowl. Like, what did you settle on? What is one thing you guys want to change? Because you've been on the cusp for a long time, and everyone understands these windows don't last forever. So what is something you want to do differently? Because I don't think they're going to ever answer that question straight. They talk about what they say.
They say, well, we change everything every year. We're constantly changing things, but they never specifically say one thing that they changed.
Right, because they don't change anything. I'd like to ask that, but I mean, also you could ask him about the quarterbacks too. Like you've said here that it was cool to sit Trey for 2 years. You said that on the record. It's year 3. What would you like to see vis-a-vis Trey this year? How would you like to see him handled? What, do you need to see him on the field? Do you not care anymore? Like, what's up, dude? You've already given him $25 million. Do you have a say here? Are you going to say something about the quarterback? That would be fair. They have to talk about this. I mean, I don't know what happened at the combine, but it felt like John Lynch didn't have to really talk about this very much.
I was amazed at the questions at the combine. Like, nobody even asked about Nick Bosa at all at the combine.
Yeah, that's crazy. Okay, there's going to be that question too, the Nick Bosa question. Yeah,
and I know that like there's national people there, and you know they're asking questions for their articles, but yeah, the Bosa question. Yeah. Bosa's not. It's not a negotiation with Bosa though. He just writes his number down on a piece of paper, slides it face down across the desk, and Jed York and John Lynch just pick it up and say, "Do you want that in hundreds or 50s?"
Well, here's a negotiation. I think how much money's guaranteed, and that's why I think this Lamar Jackson thing's a big deal. Because if his contract's fully guaranteed, then the trickle down is, well, what about the best non-quarterback in the league? Why shouldn't Nick Bosa's contract be fully guaranteed? And I don't know if the Niners are ready for all that. So it'll be really interesting.
It should be fully guaranteed. They all should be fully guaranteed.
They all should be. And there shouldn't be a salary cap either, but come on.
Salary caps help owners. That's what.
That's
their only purpose is to restrict money.
Yeah, parity is overrated, and all these guys are billionaires. They should all be able to spend, a competitive amount.
All right, let's dip into your list of topics. What did you want to get to on the show?
I just have one. Because you only have a few more minutes, and it's defense. The Niners, remember, we always talk about Kyle, the quarterback position, the offense. It's a defensive team. They build to their defense. And their big move this year was defense. Javon Hargrave in, Samson Ebukam, and Charles Omenihu out. Now, it feels like a great, great trade, but I just want to point out that Hargrave had 11 sacks last year, and those two guys had 9.5 combined. Did the pass rush get better? And will Hargrave get more sacks than those two next season?
I think he will. I mean, he's in a perfect spot. You put him with Armstead on the inside, Bosa on the outside, and I do think that they are going to try and sign somebody on the edge. I'm hoping it's like either Justin Houston or Yannick Ngakoue, one of those two, a veteran pass rusher. And I really think they're also banking on Drake Jackson to make a big improvement in year 2. They were pretty like Kyle flat out said, like, he basically hit the rookie wall. Like, he lost his power last year. He kind of called him out a little bit, like, hey, dude, bulk up because next year you got to be ready to go.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, to me, I feel like the Hargrave, Amenihue, Ebukam is a bit of a wash just in terms of like sacks. Hargrave's he's really good against the run. Amenihue isn't. But I think where the improvement comes is got to be from Drake Jackson or Eric Armstead. Like Eric Armstead wasn't really ever healthy last year. He didn't play zero sacks, even for him. Like, so if he could give him 5, 6, 7, that's a big boost. And same with Drake Jackson. Because I mean, if Javon Hargrave gave the Niners 6 sacks next year, that wouldn't even be a disappointment. Like, he's had lots of seasons like that, even playing next to TJ Watt in Pittsburgh. He could have a really good season giving the Niners 6 sacks. So, yeah, Armstead and Drake Jackson have to step up. And I bet they draft someone.
Yep.
Unless they can get Yannick Ngakoue for cheap.
They're not going to stand pat in the draft this year like they did last year. They're going to make trade because they don't have 11 spots on the team. So they're going to use those picks to move up this year, I think, or to acquire more picks for next year. But I don't think there's any way that they just stand pat and make all their picks. So if there's a guy that they want, they can go up and get him because they got 11 picks this year. They know they got a ton of comp picks coming next year. Plus they have all of their regular 2024 draft picks. So if they want to move, they can move.
And I'm sure they do like Colton McKivitz, and I bet like they're not bluffing that they're going to start him at right tackle because it's hard to find. I really don't even think – I think smart organizations aren't looking for day one starters in the draft on the offensive line. Good organizations draft guys and sit them for a year, and because it's such a hard transition from that position to the NFL, college to the NFL in a lot of ways. So I think – what the Niners could do is start McKivitz this year, draft a guy this year, and develop him for next year. Because do they have a developmental right tackle on the freaking right? Alfredo Gutierrez is the closest thing they have to a developmental tackle. Everyone else is like a guard or a center or mostly guards. So yeah, I think they're probably going to roll with. They're probably serious about McKivitz. And if you ask them like why, they'd be like, well. Well, have you seen Mike McGlinchey recently? Like, honestly, I mean, he's not that much worse. And I'd have to say, yeah, okay, I can believe that. I can buy that.
But there's value in that from a team building standpoint. The 49ers recognizing, yeah, Mike McGlinchey may be the best option you have, but he's not $50 million guaranteed dollars good. Like, so they were smart to let those are guys you don't pay a second contract to.
I'm just curious, like, what is Nick Sakel? What is he? Like, You drafted him and Burford, and one played, one didn't. But what are they going to be in year 2? What is your redshirt offensive line program going to produce this year? Is Zakel going to be something? Otherwise, like, what are you drafting? It seems like if you have this good offensive line coach, you should be taking, athletes with potential that he could mold into good players. Otherwise, you're just taking these just backups with backup traits. I don't know. What is the deal with those two? And Jason Poe. What's the deal with him too? I'd like to see what the growth is with those guys.
Well, he's talk about a guy with athletic traits. Holy hell. I still watch that video of him running routes like a fullback just because it was ridiculous. And maybe he's somebody that they have a role for. I think he won the award for like scout team offensive lineman of the year, right? He got one of those funky helmets.
The way I looked at him was the Niners. Kyle was thinking about changing his offense to a Baltimore Ravens-esque, Philadelphia Eagles-esque, RPO 11-on-11 thing. And Baltimore has a special fullback for that. What's his name? Project Pat. What's his name? Pat Ricard.
Ricard, yeah.
He's like 300 pounds. So Jason Poe is a little bit like that, like a move fullback that you're not going to throw the ball to, but just obliterates people on the zone read. So I think that's the idea for him. But I don't know. Maybe he'd be a guard.
Ricard is listed at 6'3", 311.
He's a fullback.
God.
He's a fullback. That guy's he's cool. He's a nice little feature in their run game.
That's just straight up terrifying. But I agree.
Yeah.
I think that Kyle was planning on evolving his offense a little bit. I think he
Danny Gray.
Yeah, well, if you're a wide
Danny
receiver,
Gray.
you don't do anything in year 1. That's another guy. Like, we focus so much on this draft coming up in April. Like the story of who makes the leap from last year, I think is a massive story.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a very important class because all these rookies, how many of them are going to contribute? really. I mean, none of them are top 98 picks. Seems to me like Jordan Mason could be really important. Drake Jackson could be really important. Sam Womack could be really important. Kalia Davis could be really important.
Yep,
Like
another guy in the middle.
Burford needs to take another step. I'm really curious to see what happens because last year all those guys stepped up. Lenore, Afunga, Banks. It was like part of the reason the Niners were so good. Big reason.
Absolutely. First of all, I just want to say, since we are simulcasting this, I was not ready for the Grant Cohn chat explosion. I've never had so many comments on any video I've ever done in my entire life. I apologize if I didn't get to your comment in the chat. That's my bad. I got to run. I got to pick up my son from school. So normally we'd do a longer show, but unfortunately, got to be all pro dad. But I just want to say, Grant, thank you for hopping in. I'm excited. We're going to do this every week. It's going to be a ton of fun. And again, apologize in the chat. Go vote in the Niners Media Madness bracket. It's in the description to the show. And thanks for finally doing a show with me. I've only wanted to do a show with you for like 6 years.
Absolutely. I just want to commemorate this too. This is the first simulcast I've ever done. It was me and you, and I think this is going to catch on and be a big deal. So glad we did it together. So see you next week.
When you do it with other people with bigger YouTube channels, it'll be a big success.
You have a burgeoning YouTube empire. What are you talking about?
Like and subscribe to the channel, everybody. Grant, again, thanks to you, and we'll talk to you next week.
See you next week.